Welcome back, everybody. My name's Nicholas, and this is Investing Against the Grain. In today's episode, we're going to review the full self-driving beta version 9 that was released over the weekend from Tesla. On Friday, we made a video that talked about the release that was going to be coming out that day at midnight. And over the weekend, a lot of the 2,000 testers released videos of the new software. We had people like Gali from Hyperchain. They stayed up till 1 a.m., downloaded the beta version and then made these videos to show all of us. So those are the type of things we're going to be going over today in this video. We'll be going over the good, the bad, the ugly, and give a overall perspective of what we think about beta version 9. Before we get into it, we have a goal to hit 75 subscribers by the end of July. As of right now, we're sitting at 53 subscribers, so almost there. Please, if you enjoy this type of content, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button below, and let's get into it.
This is a messy stoplight, lots of construction going on. Wow, that was super smooth.
So in this first video, what we're going to be seeing is Gali from Hyperchain, and this is obviously at night. This was filmed at about 2 a.m. in the morning, right after the release was launched. So a couple things right out the gate. You're going to hear throughout this, this entire video, a common thread with every single one of the testers saying how it's notably smoother than what beta version 8 was, or 8.2. Everybody seems to have the same feedback about the smoothness, the confidence of this release. You can also see within the interface here that what Elon has been talking about, the mind of the neural nets, the mind of FSD, the user interface has been updated to reflect a more confident, I guess you could say, interface for the drivers and the testers. So I think the idea is, it's one thing for the testers and anyone who's using the FSD to be driving and, believe it's going to work. But it's another thing to be able to see out into reality and have it confirmed within the car's display, right? That gives us as drivers that confidence that the cars can make the correct decision. So keep an eye out on the new user interface, the new graphics, the subtle changes from 8.2 as we move forward.
So would you say those turns are jerkier or smoother than 8.2?
Yeah, I think those turns are a little bit smoother. It's still like a little bit, and it's hard to tell if it's like me getting freaked out because I'm not controlling the wheel or the car's doing something weird. Like, I think it's just a really weird feeling when the car is moving, and especially when you're like, whoa, are we gonna turn here? So I can't decide if it's my trust or like, it definitely feels less fast and jerky off the bat. The first thing I'm noticing is like it's a lot smoother, and almost like it feels more confident than it used to, if that makes sense. Like, it feels like it knows what it's doing more. I'm not sure that it actually does, but that's what the car seems to think.
So real quick, notice that what we just approached was a flashing red light. Now, the vehicle is going to come up here. It's going to take a right. No issues with the flashing red light. But keep an eye out for all of the other flashing lights, because this is a inconsistency with this new version. And I don't know if the inconsistency is just for going straight through the flashing lights, whether it's yellow or red, or if it also has to do with taking a turn or whatnot. But one, again, thread throughout this video you'll see is that beta version 9 does have some iteration to go through when it comes to flashing lights.
I mean, even the
Ooh, wow, that was great. Like, it kind of went into the other lane, even though just because it saw the cars were there.
Like, watching the visualizations of the cars here, it looks like they're a lot stickier. The 8.2, they would float around in the visualization. Messed up.
That's actually a spot where pedestrians do cross a lot, and it's hard to see them. So the fact that it stopped there was kind of impressive, honestly. It was like checking for people, even though there weren't any. I mean, this is a super tight, windy road with no markings really, and it's crushing it, honestly. Like, wow. All right, now we're about to start getting in deeper into Capitol Hill with more pedestrians and traffic, so this will be interesting. And I feel like it's like 2 a.m. on like a Friday night, so this, this is like a great time to test it. I wonder if
So here again, we're at another flashing light. So keep an eye on what happens.
it's gonna.
I think it'll go.
I'm giving it a little bit of gas there. So this is the same thing that you have to do in the last version, where you have to give it a little bit of electrons. I think I would have done it there. So I don't know what happened there. Didn't crush it at that turn. Wow, I mean, this is wild. And so I wonder if there's any drawbacks, like, because this is the...
And here we're gonna see another flashing light. This time, instead of it being a red flashing, it's gonna be a yellow flashing.
version that's pure vision, right? So I wonder if now that there's no radar, like, did that change something? Like, was the radar helping a lot more? Like, it's hard to, like, look, it sees this guy.
And before we even get to the light, did you notice how the vehicle had avoided the open car door? So, again, very actively paying attention to what's happening, not just whether or not it's a car or not, but the state of the car, right? The physics of the car. So at that point, the vehicle door was actually open. So the Tesla realized, okay, I'm gonna move to the left because I'm clear. There's no obstructions. There's no other cars. So we're gonna swerve out of the way to avoid the open car door and the pedestrian. So that was, I think, very impressive.
Oh, totally avoided him. Okay.
That was good.
That was good, yeah.
Right around and gave him a little space and slowed down.
This is interesting. It thinks it's a red light, but it's actually a yellow light,
So I wonder if we wait, will it go?
right? Because it thinks like it's a flash around. See, this is where I'm going to give it some juice and be like, encourage it and say, this is the right way. We can go. So training a little there is too cautious. That's what I love about it too. If it doesn't know what it's doing, it's always going to be trying to be cautious. More downtown Capitol Hill, downtown Seattle. Oh, what is it going to get gutsy and take a right on red? No way! Bro, wow, crushing it right on red. I mean, that I feel like was way doper than 8.2. Like 8.2 might have tried that, but it would have taken forever and been super jerky. And that just killed it. I feel like that was like Julian driving. Like he drives like a maniac. Like he just knows, I don't know. Not that was like a maniac. That was like, it felt like a pro driver was doing that.
So you see it's
So during this video, as mentioned before, I will be talking about the good and the bad, or not so much bad or good, but the noticeable improvement and the still need to be iterated on, still a work in progress. So the lights are clearly a work in progress, but I do think that's an easy thing for Tesla to correct. This is impressive though, as far as the progress of 8.2 to version 9. The confidence to take a right on red. The vehicle is, more aggressive, more confident, and it's taking those rights on red. So that's I would say more or less a step change from what 8.2 was.
reading on the bus, the lights, the brake lights. That was cool.
Was it? Wow. So it noticed that it wasn't signaling to turn. Maybe if the bus had its turn signal on, it would have.
An aggressive lane change.
Yeah, it's a little bit fast. Like, I wish it would take stuff a little bit slower. Maybe because I have it on Mad Max mode, I can try and change that setting, but like, it just feels like whenever it turns, it just like doesn't slow down, but a normal human would always like be a little cautious into a turn, right? Or is that just because the car is driving itself and we're freaking out because it's turning? Like, I just don't know. Ooh, look at these people running across the street. Totally, wow, that was dope. Honestly, avoided drunk people. So far the only interventions have been.
So as we go through this, and I'm calling things out for you to pay attention to. So the flashing lights, little nuances like car doors being open, the user interface itself. But as Gali gets more and more into downtown Seattle, into Capitol Hill, what you're going to start to see is more pedestrians showing up on the actual interface, the mind of the neural nets. And it becomes very impressive. I don't want to be a spoiler or anything, so just keep an eye out for that. It's very impressive.
And when I feel like it's turning too fast and I get scared, so I feel like it's just me not letting it do a thing. Those have been the only interventions so far. Up on the yellow, I mean, it's buttery smooth. I will say that. Like, it's super smooth.
Yeah, going stoplight to stoplight, I wouldn't have been able to tell if this were you driving or the car doing it, which is cool.
Like, it feels like it could be a human, for sure. Let's see. Let's play this one out.
All right, so it is technically 2 lanes.
Oh, see, I don't know if it was going to hit the thing there or I was just being too cautious.
The pedestrians on the screen.
He's going to see them.
Couple of them. Look at their legs moving.
Now, when it comes to, you know, what Gali was just saying there, he doesn't know if it was going to hit something or if he's being too cautious. This is a common theme that we've seen, whether it's 8.2 or even all the videos that are coming out now, especially over the weekend for FSD version 9 beta. A lot of the drivers, they seem to interact quicker or are a little less trusting of the system, which rightfully so. This is their own vehicles. It's not like there's no repercussions if, you know, they scrape or get in a crash or anything of that nature. So it is a interesting inflection point on whether the software is good enough and we just don't trust it, or if we are making the correct decisions by intervening and not letting the software, you know, do something that's going to cause damage or potentially hurt someone. So as we move forward, it'll be interesting to see how we, I guess, correct for that. We'll see some other drivers besides Gali, and you will be able to see how the trust starts to get built over time.
That's wild.
Wow. It says one of their homies stood there, but he's with them.
Homie left behind.
Homie left behind, bro.
He disappeared.
Wow, it
Right
gets gutsy with the right on red. Oh no, it's got it. I didn't do anything there. I just had to give it a sec, I guess. Wow.
So that was like trying to figure out what lights were which.
It's so I can't figure out what trips it up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it seems really random at when it kind of loses confidence there. Like, it was like it crushed it at the right on red, and then when it's wide open and it's perfectly in the right lane, then it...
Because look at the visualization. So it doesn't know if that left red light is fully for you.
Oh, this
right?
one.
You see it flickering? Okay, now it knows it's green for you.
Ooh, what are you doing, bro? We just cut off that guy. Okay, so that was our first drive with V9. First thoughts on the new software. Visualization is totally...
So again, we see here a nice aggressive right turn, but then the car begins to hesitate and it doesn't want to accelerate even though the lane's wide open. This just reiterates that this is a beta and it should be seen as a beta. Even Elon, whenever he tweeted about this release, he made a special note that this is still a beta version. In fact, even people who weren't formally part of the 2,000 users for the beta testing, they had a phone call given to them to explain what to expect, how to react, understanding that, you know, this is beta, that, you know, you have to be active the entire time. So this is still very much beta, but, you know, the whole point of these releases is to help Tesla iterate on top of the software and really get more of these edge cases.
Changed. They've switched from like sort of a jerky to a lot smoother, showing you the confidence intervals with blurriness. This is a really cool new direction for the UI to head. And also similarly in the way that the UI has just been getting smoother, I would say that's like the gist of the whole update. Like everything the car is doing, V8.2 was a little bit stoppier, a little bit jerkier, like you could tell the car was less confident in what it's doing. Now the car seems to be a lot more confident, just generally moving a lot smoother, like more buttery is what I would say. And now we're gonna give it another test, back up towards Capitol Hill, put it through the ringer. I will also say, like, you know, Tesla says this is beta, like definitely still beta. Like you can see it's wiggling right now, like it doesn't know what that car's doing, but you can see that this is like a big tangible step forward. And I think now that they've disabled this, and disabled the radar, and this is truly Tesla pure vision, like that was a huge fundamental technological change on the back end of the technology that they've implemented, and they've already made the end product better than what it was without that. So for it to already be better and then have this new foundation to keep improving on, I think is super important to keep in mind. So let's run this back and do another drive. Okay. So now we're gonna go back up. We're in Belltown. We're gonna go back up through Capitol Hill, the epicenter of Seattle drunk people at 1:52 a.m. on a Saturday morning, to just kind of put it to the test and see what happens. Like, I wanna see this in like street traffic, and just going through like the most complicated situations in Seattle. So let's see. I feel like we're really not being easy on it. Like, we could have gone anywhere really random and out of the blue, but we decided to put it in the hardest test possible. And like, these are crazy. Like, these is unmarked roads. Like, it's super bumpy. Like, there's no lane lines. Like, there's like weird parking spots, and then the sidewalk is jutting out of nowhere.
Yeah, this is gonna be the nut.
This is it. So like, look at this. Like, we have the green light, and there's just drunk people everywhere in the intersection. But it knows. It sees these drunk people. Wow. Okay. Let's go. Wow. Honestly, this is. Whoa, these guys.
It's got them on the visualization.
It's got them though. Okay. See, the problem is I need you to help me look at the visual, because I can't look at the visualization too. So I'm like, shit. Wow. Okay. Honestly, I'm like a little bit nervous, bro.
I got you.
That was crazy. Oh, I shouldn't have. I mean, it was just too close. It was just, I disengaged.
See, it'd be cool if it shows these columns on it.
Yeah, because it
doesn't even show them.
It didn't show the column. I was not going to risk that. Like, honestly. It looked like it was gonna swerve. Like, what do you think? Was that like?
It looked like it would have tried to cut through that. There's just no confidence because you don't see the columns.
And the problem is, I can't. Even though the screen is the visualization, now I'm realizing this sounds so obvious, but I'm realizing that there's another big problem. Like, I'm not looking at the visualization because I'm looking at the real world. So I can't look at the real world and try and figure out what the car's thinking at the same time.
Oh, I don't like that.
Holy. So it clearly, honestly, not jiving well with the monorail. Whoa! All right,
so it doesn't even.
It just doesn't see these columns. Honestly, like, fair feedback for the team. Like, the Seattle monorail columns are invisible to Autopo. Are you serious? And see, we can't even turn from this lane, but we had to turn, so that's why I wanted to get over. So that's all chill.
So a couple of things just happened there. Obviously, the vehicle isn't recognizing the pillars of the monorail. At least it's not showing up on the user interface. It may be recognizing it and just not displaying it. So this is exactly why this is beta, and this is exactly why, it's the long tail of the nines, right? All these edge cases is what we're striving for. And the more edge cases we get, the better the system will be. But again, this is why we have to iterate on top of iteration on top of iteration. And this is why these 2,000 beta test users are just so valuable. Obviously, Gali's doing a good job paying attention, but he makes a very good point where you really need two people in the vehicle in order to make this, I don't want to say safer, but more of a valuable test. Because, for example, if there's someone watching the interface and they say, no, it's fine, we see it here, while the driver is just paying attention to driving, it could give you confidence into what you're doing, because to be able to look forward and drive and be able to look over here at the same time, that's not pragmatic. Now, Gali also makes a good point that this is why the interface matters so much right now, because had they seen the pillars of the monorail, then they might have had confidence that that FSD Beta version 9 is aware that the monorail is there and that it'll avoid the pillars. But because they don't see it, they don't trust it, right? So there's this big trust scenario or constant friction that's happening with all the drivers. And again, it's their own vehicles. They need to protect their own vehicles and themselves and the pedestrians all around. So it's a very fair criticism, and I wouldn't even call it criticism, but it's a very good observation.
We'll take over with human pilot. Like, it's still in beta. Like, I almost feel like if you're in LA, on a big road on like Sunset, that's easier, even though there's like more traffic, that's like easier than these little quirky roads. Like these are like, you know when they say like the self-driving is all about edge cases? To me, like that's the drive we're taking it on. Like this is just a drive of edge cases. Like look at this, like there's a flashing yellow and there's like 8 gazillion people walking, and then there's like, I don't know.
It's just not.
And then this guy like sprinting across the street when he's not supposed to, like.
And it totally could have went there.
It totally could have went there, but like it's being cautious. So we'll see. Should we give it another light to see?
So I'm just gonna let it run. This is my unprotected left here. I'm gonna let you guys see it. Don't go without looking. Okay, it was clear, but man, it could not see. It's going for it on these turns.
So this again goes back to the trust aspect. I think it's interesting that, you know, we're making the assumptions that the vehicle couldn't have seen. Now, maybe it couldn't. I'm not in the driver's seat. It's not my vehicle. I'm not reliable for anything. I'm just watching a YouTube video that, you know, luckily we have these posts up. But it's interesting how we're going to get past the idea of, I think the car can't see, even though it might be able to see, right? How do we get past that? How do we inform drivers and testers that, no, the vehicle actually can see and it is safe? You know, that's a whole chicken egg thing, and really seems like the only real answer is through the UI. And the more that people use the UI and the more the UI advances and we can really see what the vehicle sees, that will give us confidence to just let the vehicle do its thing, right? Let the vehicle drive as it believes is the correct course.
There was no way that it knew it was clear, but it went for it. Here we go again. Interesting.
This is another thing that has come up on many of these videos from these beta testers. Whenever there's cop cars, ambulances, fire trucks, it doesn't actually render them as such vehicles. I even watched a video over the weekend. I actually saw many videos. I couldn't even find the video I want to show on here, but it was a intersection. There looks like there might have been a car crash, and the police vehicle had their lights on, and the user interface only represented it as a sedan. It didn't recognize the lights flashing or anything. So I think that would be a very good update for this. And again, I think that's a very simple update for Tesla to iterate on. I don't think that's something that's too challenging.
Emergency vehicle over there, just mapped as a semi. So I'm gonna make a point here on some of the cars. And you can look for this on the video, brake lights are showing up on cars that they were not before. That's definitely a new change. Not sure if it's using brake light information as an indication of slowing. It would seem logical that they would take that information into account though. Brake lights, you see it? Simultaneous with the car in front braking. Brake lights on the car that's not the lead car too. So, and they're very bright. I wonder if there's a difference in bright and tail lights. That'll be something to watch. Those brake lights on those cars are not visible. Changing lanes to follow route. Okay, vector went over, use the blinker.
Again, new tester, new driver, and the same consistent theme of the smoothness, right? Lane change, blinker came on its own, moved over. Just going back real quick to what we just saw with the brake lights. So that is new to this interface, is that we see actively all the brake lights from vehicles all around. And this goes to show that when it comes to police vehicles or ambulances, we should be able to get the lights from those as well. I think that's very important, especially imagine there's a police vehicle, we recognize the lights. We don't even really need to worry about sound. Although sound could be beneficial, but you might need a exterior facing speaker in order to capture that. But either way, being able to recognize these emergency vehicles and adjust and appropriately react to it would be very beneficial. I do think that as the Tesla sees vehicles hitting their brakes on, it does react, and there is a statistical probability within the neural nets and the matrices of what to do in this situation, right? If I see brake lights come on, there's a high probability that the vehicle is slowing down, so I want to keep a distance of 2 to 3 car lengths, so I'm going to adjust to match or mirror what is happening ahead of me. Right? I think a lot of this is it's no different than what we do intuitively.
That was pretty smooth. All right, I'm going to set the car distance back to 5, maybe 4. Traffic merging here.
This is probably one of the most impressive clips I have seen from any of the beta testers. If we look at this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 vehicles, 5 if you include Tesla. We've got 3 that are merging onto the highway. And what you're going to see happen is the Tesla is going to slow down to let one of the vehicles change lanes in front of it, and the Tesla is going to go ahead and change lane just in front of this truck. So let's take a look at this.
Let's see how it handles these cars wanting to get over. It's not, okay, now it's going to let him get over. It looks like he doesn't even have his blinker on. I've got my blinker on. It handled that pretty nice. That was a pretty tight.
So this is one of the things that will make this system so much better than humans. The vehicle that was merging into the lane in front of the Tesla didn't have its blinker on or anything. But because the neural nets have so many examples of vehicles edging over without blinkers or anything, it knows well ahead of time that that vehicle is coming into the lane without any blinkers or any indications. Us as humans, we have some instincts and ideas of what's going to happen, but we don't know as quickly as this would, right? The neural net here has probably been shown, hundreds of millions of examples of this, of where a vehicle is coming and maybe it does switch lanes or maybe it doesn't without any blinkers. And so based on the probability of the way the vehicle is coming over, hugging that left lane line, it will determine whether or not it's coming in or if it's just, someone who's driving and kind of swerving a little bit. So those are the kind of things that will make this better than humans, right? Think about it. It's just like a calculator, right? A calculator is much better at doing math than we are as humans, right? We instinctually make these things to be vastly better than us. This is a perfect example of that. The software, the neural nets will be able to make predictions with slight nuanced movements of the vehicle much better, much faster than what we ever would be able to.
Merge. So that was a merge in heavy traffic, I'd say. With a bunch of barrels and cones being mapped up there, and some good car visualizations here of these cars waiting over here. So I'm gonna say I was pretty impressed with that weave. If you were to ask me to compare that to version 8, I think it was better, but I don't know how to say why other than it worked. And version 8 sometimes worked and sometimes didn't, but it felt smoother. So much of this is subjective. It's just going to take time and success over time to really prove anything, I think. But we'll get there. The data will be collected. I'll post as many of these as I have time to post and let you guys that watch and make comments be the judge. Interesting, this truck right next to me. Oh, I just saw brake lights. I was going to say his brake lights are on. You can't see him in the video, but his brake lights are on at this light. And I saw a flicker of brake lights for a second, but now they're not there. Oh, there they are again. Interesting. All right, so here we've got a turn, and I've got a line it can follow. As long as it honors it. Wow, it did that really good. That was better than version 8 for sure. Those turns with those dotted lines were always a little iffy. It jumped over into this turn lane. That was solid. All right, so check this out.
That was a very smooth, we took a left turn, we hugged it with the line, we got onto the main road, and then right away they moved into the left turn lane just flawlessly, seamlessly, right? And again, you hear him iterating again that it's just so smooth, right? It's hard to contextualize into words, but everything's smoother than 8.2. It just seems more natural and more organic in the movement.
I've got some stoplights that are being installed, some stoplights that are being controlling, and it's got a whole bunch of things up here to look at. It looks like it knows I've got a protected left turn here, because that, if you can't see it, and it's got the arrow, and here we go, and it turns.
I'm pausing here real quick If we look at the user interface here, you can see that in front of the Tesla within the UI, there is a dotted solid line just kind of protruding from the front of the vehicle. This is a vector line that it's really hard to actually know what it is because we don't know and we're just making assumptions. A lot of people seem to think this is the path that the Tesla is going to take. I'm not really sure if that's what is happening here. I think this is a vector line that will maybe, one, it does indicate which way the path is going to go, but I think it's a predictive line. So if a car were to be moving in front of it, it might have that vector tail onto the vehicle as a guide. It doesn't mean it's going to go and follow that car or that vehicle, but it might use it as a tail to guide it. You'll see examples a little bit later when we start doing unprotected left turns, but it would be interesting to really know what this vector line truly means and what it indicates when it's not going in the same direction that it's supposed to be going, right? If it goes off to the right instead of a left, even though clearly on the map we're taking a left.
Just adjusting the speed. Okay, stopping for traffic control in 200 feet. All right, here's the test. Hey, that was pretty good.
Now, I'm not sure if this is specific to where this is being filmed, what city, what state, but in my opinion, for a roundabout, that was not that great. Mainly because there was no traffic coming on within the roundabout, and the vehicle came to what appeared to be a complete stop. If I'm driving and I want to have a nice flow with the vehicle, I don't stop there. I might yield a little bit just to, look left, look right, and make sure there's no traffic oncoming, but I don't come to a complete stop. So that's something that I would like to see change. But again, maybe there's certain state rules. Maybe there's a sign I couldn't see. Maybe in this roundabout, you have to come to a complete stop before moving forward. But I think that defeats the purpose of roundabouts. It would be nice to see it just kind of flow through, especially if there's no traffic coming on. But either way, besides that, it handled it flawlessly.
All right, we got a second roundabout coming up here, another 300 feet. It's coming up very cautiously. No problem. Stayed in the lane lines. Did it at a pretty decent speed.
Yeah, I will say that this second roundabout, it appeared that the vehicle didn't come to a complete stop. Maybe came down to like 2 miles per hour. So it did keep going at a very slow rate. But even so, it's still, there's no traffic. There's no vehicles coming on. I think that could happen a little smoother. Who knows? Maybe it also has to do with the settings, whether you're on medium or aggressive or Mad Max, right? Maybe that has an implication to this as well.
This is pretty impressive. This new Tesla Vision, look, I was skeptical because, radar just adds another layer of depth of sensor. And Elon's proved many times that he knows what he's doing. It just sounded so opposite of what you would expect of running a full self-driving car that, Tesla's already decided they're not going to do radar. They're not going to do, Lidar. Now they're not going to do radar. That just seems crazy. But it seems like it's not only working, but this is working better than what it was before.
So that might be the most impressive part of this entire release, is the fact that after radar has been removed, not only is FSD Beta version 9 working well, it seems to be working even better than what 8.2 was without any radar. So that's a very interesting observation. You would have thought that maybe there'd be some gaps that have to be filled in, or some learning curve now that there is no radar. But even with radar disengaged, according to the people who are driving this, it's working even better.
Well, I couldn't stand it. FSD Beta 9, that's what we've been testing here. I gotta do a few unprotected left-hand turns. My curiosity is just killing me. So here's my notorious 6-lane highway, 3 lanes each way with a median. I'm not expecting FSD 9 to have made any major changes here. It's 7:30 in the morning, Saturday morning here, so the traffic is not going to be very heavy. I've got an obstructed left here. It needs to creep out, which is what it says it's doing. I'm going to try to give you the view here. Okay, it needs to stop. Okay, a lot of traffic coming. More traffic coming. I'm going to kind of keep this here and look left because I can't risk it going. I'm having to lean way forward to see the traffic. Sorry about that. It can't go yet. I'm trying to get rid of all this stuff and still drive safely. Nope, it needs to wait. Nope, it needs to wait. Okay, it can go now. And it's going. And it needs to stop or go in the left lane. I let it go and it can go in the left lane. It's gotta, okay, I gotta accelerate. All right, so there was the first part, it did it pretty good. If it had stayed in the left lane, it could have worked just fine. But there was a car rapidly accelerating in this lane I'm in now, and my nose was sticking out. So I had to commit there, and it didn't commit.
This unprotected left-hand turn, this is a very difficult turn in general for people, especially when we're talking about 3 lanes and then another 3 lanes. I see, where I live, I see people struggle with this type of turn all the time, where they get stuck just waiting to get out there, and there's so much hesitation, there's so much going on, so many cars coming. These 3 lanes are coming this way, the other 3 lanes are going this way, and you're trying to find a gap between both, and maybe you end up sitting on the median. I do wonder, I couldn't see, obviously again I'm not driving, but I couldn't see the vehicle that supposedly was coming on. It would be interesting to see this done just in general with less traffic, to see, not so much for the software, but for the driver, so that he has more confidence in the software and gives it a chance to actually do the correct thing. Again, I'm sure he made the right decision, but it would be interesting to see what happens if these drivers just give it a little more trust, which might happen over time. I could see that. I wonder if with 8.2, people kept saying, oh, it's getting better, oh, it's learning, without any new updates coming out. And I wonder if the software was learning, or if people were just trusting the software more, right? That'd be a interesting study to figure out what the truth lies with that.
To getting into this lane, I'm not going to say it was horrible. We've seen a lot worse unprotected lefts than that. Let me do a couple more, see how it goes. And it's wide open on the left, so it can go, but it's sticking out pretty far. I'm in the lane. It needs to go. It needs to go. It needs to go. Okay, I'm having to hit the accelerator there for oncoming cars. And that one, I'll say, was a fail. I did have a car behind me that was kind of making me not give it a little bit more time. But once it got out in the road without oncoming traffic, it needed to commit. I'm not exactly sure what it was seeing to wait. We'll try that again. All right, here we go. Take 3. I'm not sure if there's any traffic coming right now or not. I'm not sure why it's wanting to go right there on that intent vector.
So this is what I'm not sure. I'm not really sure if that vector is a intent vector, or it's a vector that, I mean, you can see the right side curb here, how it curls to the right. I'm not sure if that vector is just showing us the different possibilities of where it could go, right? It could go to the right, it could go straight to the left, but the vehicle knows it cannot go directly to the left, right? So it might just be that the vector will just show the different possibilities of where it could go. Doesn't mean it's where it really will end up going, just because the vector gets pulled one way or another. That'd be an interesting question for Elon and Andre and team, to see what the vector actually means whenever these drivers are testing Beta 9.
Oh, where were you going? While it is clear, there's no way it could have seen if it was clear. I'm just gonna back up a little bit and get out of the road. There's no one behind me, and reset that one. I'm not sure what was going on there. The vector acted like it wanted to do a right turn. The map had a left. Let's try that again. Reset. Still got a... Alright, let's get it reset here. I'm trying to get the... There it is. Okay. Some trucks going by. Let's see what it's doing here. Creeping, checking for visibility. It cannot go. Alright, I'm now in the lane, and look how wide this car had to go around me. Okay, so I'm not sure how to assess that right now.
Okay, so clearly when it comes to the unprotected left-hand turns, there's still a decent amount of work that has to be done with it. And, you know, I think that'll come. I think that's just a matter of iterating over and over. I don't think that it's going to be something that's going to be too difficult for Tesla to figure out in the long run, but it's not perfect. It's not there. This is still beta. This is why we have these testers. This is why we iterate. And this is why, again, everybody must be cautious when they're doing these tests. But I do think that, you know, it could have gotten close on a couple of them, you know, had there been a little more trust. But again, if it were me, in my vehicle, I for sure would not be risking my vehicle just for the sake of this test.
Yeah, it didn't like that person close to the road. It seems to be swerving to get away from the pedestrians. Yeah. Surprised my car didn't react.
So I'm pretty sure this was filmed in Rhode Island, but these streets remind me very much of driving through New Orleans, where you just have a massive amount of pedestrians walking on both hand sides and cars that are parked, you know, so it's a very narrow road. And the fact that the vehicle is, you know, kind of hugging away from the pedestrians and getting more into maybe the middle of the lane versus, you know, where it would normally drive if there was nobody on the road. That's very reminiscent of how I'm used to driving in places like New Orleans, where you have these little streets and just massive amounts of people. And I think that's the right way to do it, personally. I do the same thing. I like to stay away because, you know, people are on the sidewalk. There are so many people on the sidewalks that they end up walking out onto the street. And so you're trying to move around. There's bicycles coming up and down. There's just a lot of things happening. So, you know, the idea of you just staying on your road and going straight no matter what, it's not pragmatic. In fact, it's just not safe. So I love the fact that the vehicle is aware of all the people around it, and based on how people are moving, it's adjusting, right? This is probably one of the most underrated things that about FSD version 9 that I haven't seen anyone really talk about, is the fact that it seems that the software is really bringing in the fourth dimension of time, right? The physics of somebody's walking at a certain rate, and how do I adjust to that, right? Can I make it through? Do I need to slow down, right? That is something I'm seeing throughout all these videos. You saw it in Gali's video where someone was running across the street, whether they're inebriated or not, but they're running across the street. The vehicle slowed down to go ahead of, or to let them pass. We see it here. You know, people are walking, and maybe the way they move, the vehicle moves a little bit to the left to adjust for a potentiality of them coming out. I just see a lot of that fourth dimension effect happening here.
That car that was nosing out. I mean, I'm glad it didn't, because I didn't want to see, my car does not like these people right here. I'm glad my car didn't, because, you know, then that would be letting her out.
That's another good point too. So, you know, a second ago we saw the white SUV creeping out into her lane, and again the Tesla just kept going. It didn't stop out of hesitation, which would have probably happened on the previous versions of FSD, where the vehicle comes out and you're driving this way, and just because they're nosing out, the Tesla may have stopped to let them in, but instead the Tesla said, no, I have the right of way. Just because you're nosing out, right, I know you're not going to go, I'm going to keep going because I do have the right of way, instead of letting you just cut me off. That's a very good observation. That is, although it seems so insignificant, that is, I think, a major improvement, and it is a step change.
And I wanted her to wait her turn, which is, she had room right behind me. To where I navigated to. Navigate to Stop and Shop. Let's see which way it takes us. Yeah, all the people are really, I mean, it's doing okay, but it's clearly, it clearly is thinking about what they're doing. I mean, and here, honestly, especially in an electric car, and I don't have the noise on mine because it was built in 2018, but people do just step right out in front of my car sometimes, so I really have to pay attention. Okay, so we're gonna try, it's rendering that car blue, which I believe means opposing or crossing traffic. I feel like it needs to creep up a little further. Okay, that was good. It crept up a little further and there was a car coming. Oh my gosh, it's really, wait, no, don't do it. Okay, now it can go. Go. Go! Oh, it's so slow once it started to go. It was fine. It had plenty of time. There was a car coming, but okay, so that was the first time that I really like let it creep and see what it would do. And I thought it maybe was gonna go for this truck in front of me, but I let it, I mean, I was ready to stop it, trust me, but I let it, I just didn't want it to scare the truck. Oh wow, I was really waiting for this lady to get to her car. But yeah, that was awesome, actually. I mean, I feel like I'm getting better at trusting it. I mean, I just started using this yesterday. The vision going up the narrow street, it's being very cautious here, which I suppose is good. So this car is sticking out a little bit more here, folded in the mirror.
Now, listen to what she says, and I don't know if you heard that, but because it's going to be a very tight fit between the road, the sidewalk, and this, I don't know, it looks like a Ford maybe, to her front left, the Tesla's car mirror just came in so that it wouldn't hit and it'd have enough room to go by.
Okay, that was good. Now this is going to be interesting because now we can see what my car can see supposedly when we're trying to make this blind left. There's a house here on the corner, like you can't see anything here. It's not rendering anything here, but it's because it can't see. See, oh, I still don't trust it. Darn it. I mean, there was nobody coming. That doesn't help me to know what it can see, really. Hey, we're gonna turn on to Pope again. This was
Okay, so she's gonna attempt that same blind left-hand turn again, but as you can tell, there is again that same consistency of that trust versus not trust. And the only way that we're going to get past that is for the interface to really get much better and be much more representative of the world around the vehicle. So let's watch this again. Let's see the attempt for the blind left-hand turn and see if we can make it.
An issue before when there was a car parked there on the left, it was missing the turn, and it is not missing the turn anymore with the car parked there. So that's a pretty huge improvement. It's going very cautious through here. Okay, this is where I navigated to, so I'm going to stop. Navigate to Jane Pickens Theater. All right, so it doesn't like this car here this time. I mean, it did it, but and it did it the same as before, but I guess it may be a little closer, but didn't look that way. But I got different sensors. Okay, so all right. I mean, it did it slow. There were no cars coming, but I guess that was better. Or maybe I'm trusting it more. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think there's, again, a commonality here. She trusted it a little more this time, and it did what it was supposed to do. I think that, going forward with FSD Beta version 9 and any iterations that come out from that, it's really going to be this balance of drivers trusting the software and the software rendering onto the interface enough to allow the driver to trust it. And once we get this perfect balance of those two, I think that's when we'll really start seeing some rapid improvements with FSD. Clearly, with this version of FSD Beta version 9, there was a lot of good stuff to come out. There's a lot of improvements that are just very obvious from the surface. Everyone has said it's much smoother. That's very apparent. The FSD is a lot more confident, so that's great. What I mentioned before, the fourth dimension, understanding the relevance of time and space, right? It seems like the Tesla, the FSD Beta version 9 software is very aware of that relationship. There's less disengagement, it appears, from a lot of the testers. Obviously, with what I'm showing you here, there are a little more disengagements, but I'm taking, hours and hours of footage and I'm condensing it down to some of the more interesting edge cases for this video. The FSD Mind, the user interface, we see a lot of new improvements. We see people walking. We can see their legs moving. We can see their arms swinging. So that's pretty cool. We see that vector, that intent vector. Not really sure what it does, but that is, a little more indicative of probably what the path or the past possibility for the vehicle. So that seems to be rather new. All the traffic cones being represented, that seems to be a lot more accurate, and it's a very nice thing to see, especially when you're driving. Maybe you're in a construction site. You want to see those things to know that the Tesla isn't going to go onto a road that might be shut down. So I think that's very important. And then the brake lights. So the user interface is showing the brake lights of other vehicles. There are some spots where, there's a car that has brake lights on, maybe just because it's in a static position, not dynamic. It's not reflecting it, but, it is showing brake lights, so that's pretty cool. Again, keep in mind, this is with no radar. So the fact that FSD Beta version 9 is doing this without radar, and it's an improvement to 8.2, which had radar, that speaks volumes to Tesla Vision, and what Andre and Elon and what their perception of what will be successful for FSD and what's needed and what is not needed to become a reality. I thought it was very impressive watching the vehicle avoid open doors and allowing that lady that we just saw a second ago go to her car before proceeding forward. I thought that was pretty cool. The creeping, right, so that the car can edge out to see, that's, I think, gotten better. 8.2 did a little bit of that, but I think this was much more organic and a lot smoother than what we saw in 8.2. We saw a lot more confidence in right turns when the lights are red. So that was nice. You know, it was confident, it was smooth, and, you know, it just did it knowing that it could. And then the avoiding of the car nosing out that we just saw, again, I think that's in Rhode Island, where that white SUV was edging out, but the Tesla still proceeded, instead of getting scared and hesitant and saying, oh no, you go because, you know, I'm timid, right? Instead, the Tesla acknowledged it. You could see it on the user interface, and it said, nope, I'm still going. I have the confidence. I have the right of way. So I thought that was pretty great progress. Now, obviously, this is beta, so there's a lot of work in progress to still be had. The Seattle monorail, obviously, Gali called it out. We did not see it represented in the UI. We also did not see the car, you know, avoid changing lanes, even though the pillars were there. Would have hit the pillars, maybe, maybe not. We don't know, but because it wasn't displayed on the UI, it's very hard to have confidence in that. The flashing lights, right? This is maybe a problem, maybe not a problem. Some flashing lights, the vehicle sits there until you give it more electrons. It's not progressing. And on other red or yellow flashing lights, the vehicle stops and goes. So this is a very small thing. I don't think it's a big deal. This is something that I think, you know, they could iterate on very quickly, and within, you know, the next release of FSD Beta version 9, it'll be solved. I don't think that's a big one. We didn't see any of this in today's video, but there were a lot of videos I saw over the weekend where the Tesla would aggressively go over speed bumps. Again, I think that's something that's very, very minor and very easy to correct for. But really, we should be going over speed bumps a lot smoother, if for nothing else, just for our, you know, a comfort's sake. A drawbridge. So again, this wasn't in this video. Just there's only so much I could put into this video. But over the weekend, somebody was at a drawbridge. The bridge was up, and in the UI, it was recognizing the bridge being up as a semi in front of the vehicle. So that's not great. But again, just like the traffic lights, just like speed bumps, I think that's something that can easily be remedied, right? You queue up the fleet, get all footage of any drawbridges, you run it through neural net, and now it knows what a drawbridge is and how to react to it. So again, this is beta. There's lots of work left to be done, but I think we're making great progress, especially with the fact that there's no radar. This is the first release without any radar. I think that's very impressive. And you know, just my final thoughts, that between the user interface, between the beta testers, and, you know, just people in general driving their vehicles, it's going to be this relationship of trusting the vehicle and the vehicle giving us enough feedback that we can trust it, right? It's a two-way street. So it'll be interesting to see, as they iterate on beta version 9, if they just make tweaks to the software itself, or if they also make tweaks to the user interface. I really think that if they make more tweaks to the user interface and show the drivers what the vehicle is seeing, I think that will go a long way to allowing the users to trust the vehicle. And, you know, the more the users trust the vehicle, the more it'll let the vehicle do what it thinks it should do. And odds are, you know, the vehicle make the correct decision. So I think that'll be a balance that Tesla and team need to make, and make sure that they're thinking about that as they push out these updates for beta version 9. Okay, everybody, we're going to leave it there for today. I want to give a shout out to Kim Parquette, to Chuck Cook, to My Tesla Adventure, and of course Gali from Hyperchange. Check out their channels. They have amazing content right now with FSD Beta version 9. Please, if you enjoy this type of content, help us out to get into our goal of 75 subscribers by the end of July by hitting the like and subscribe button below, and I'll catch you guys next time.